Mm-mm.
Hey, Claudio, how are you?
I recognize that name, Danny Lockwood.
We'll get
I think
started
I
here in a few minutes.
was with Danny in Guatemala, right, Danny?
Yes. Hold on.
Yeah. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Oh, yes, I remember that face.
This face is tired.
Same. Why are you tired? How come you're tired?
Uh, I don't have an excuse. No excuse whatsoever. That's just baseline, I think.
It is what it is.
It is. Yeah.
Claudio, Danny was one of the kidney donor climbers that was in Guatemala last year. Um,
It was with
weren't you,
Sai as well.
Danny? Weren't you
Yeah.
a Canadian?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was. Yeah.
So
Nice
Claudio
to meet
is
you.
our guide in Peru, and I was just introducing you to him.
Oh, hi. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I have to see you this way too.
What are you up to these days, Danny?
Just still retired, just kind of hanging out. Um, trying to trying to plan some trips. This one's intriguing, but the altitude kind of scares me a little bit. So
Okay. We
we'll
can talk a little
see.
bit about that today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Well, originally I'm from Montana, but I live in Florida. So yeah, right. We're right at sea level.
You became a flatlander.
Yeah, unwillingly. Yes.
But don't worry, you are not the first from Florida that will be here in Peru or in the mountains.
Oh,
It's true.
yeah.
I know the recipe to avoid the altitude with you.
That's we just watched a show the other day where they were on a train and they had like the coca tea and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna break some myths about that too.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're gonna talk about that tonight, actually.
cool.
Welcome others as you file in.
We'll get started here in just a few more minutes. Wendy's joining, I think. There she is. Hi, Wendy.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Great.
We're getting started here in just a minute, everyone. I see a bunch of people joining. Just let's give it another minute or so. We had 24 people RSVP for tonight, which means usually about 12 show up. Let's see, get to that. So we got 1/3 of the people who RSVP.
It's fine. It's 5 o'clock exactly, so we can
Yeah.
give it a couple
Okay.
minutes.
Yeah. When are you a grandma now? Not yet?
Not yet. They just took her into emergency C-section. So it's been a rough 24 hours-ish.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
it'll be soon then, actually, right?
Then actually it should be. So I'm at my son's house watching I'm on dog duty. So yeah. She had
Exciting.
COVID. She got COVID and nobody knew it. So she had a fever last night. And so they took her to the hospital and they're like, oh, you have COVID. So then that started a whole chain of events. But yeah, so any minute.
Yeah.
So if I get off like quickly and come back like, yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining tonight. Looks like we got enough people to get started. Tonight's conversation is an informal conversation about Peru, some of the treks we have there, questions you may have about Peru. My name is Donovan. I'm the owner of Embark. I've met a number of you before. Many of you met my spouse, partner, wife, Carrie O'Callahan. Some of you know Wendy, who also works for Embark. And then we have Claudio. Claudio, why don't you say something about yourself?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Well, I am Claudio. I am from Cusco, Peru. I am a local guide here. I am the specialist doing treks, hikes here in the Andes. So whenever you want, please let me know your questions. I'm sure that Donovan is going to make a better exposition of the programs that we're going to do, but please, I am here very happy to have you all. And of course, I will be more happy if you come here too.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so again, the purpose of tonight is an informal conversation about anything related to Peru. I see a number of people on this who are already planned on trips with us later this year. But again, this is kind of a Q&A with some slides kind of in the mix. Embark's been working in Peru for over a decade now. Carrie is a local expert and has spent a lot of time on a number of these treks, including one of the treks that we specifically designed called High Passes, which we'll talk about later tonight. The one thing about our adventures in Peru is they're just unique. Most people know of the Inca Trail. Most people who travel to Machu Picchu do the Inca Trail, and we do a lot of different alternative versions to that. So we'll share a little bit of information about that tonight. But a lot of this is going to be Claudio talking. And again, if you have any questions, you can type it into the chat or you can just come off of mute. But I will just kick off the first question and let's go with Claudio. And Claudio, why don't you start with just a very high level, not the full story, but how you got involved with hiking, being a guide in Peru, in Cusco.
Well, for this, thank you for the question, Donovan. You might understand that I literally come from the countryside. I don't come from the city. I was born in the countryside, where the people only speak Quechua, basically. But as soon as I was born, I got moved to the city because my parents were looking for better chances, no? And they provided us, me and my siblings, better education in the school and the university. And as I grew up nearby the center of the city, I used to see a lot of tourists by the streets, sometimes without guides, and sometimes these tourists used to ask to the people in the streets, hey, do you know about a place there or there, whatever? So I started having contact with these guys, and sometimes I used to get a little tip from them. And this was probably something that motivated me to get in the university and to start to study tourism. So I got licensed in tourism and I speak some languages, including the English. Also, I speak the local language, which is the Quechua. By the way, I use this as my principal tool when I am working in the countryside because most of the people speak Quechua, and this is what makes me relate to them, and also easier to get in the local life. So this is the natural immersion that I get with, and obviously the clients that travel with me are part of this too. So I really enjoy doing this. I feel happy to bring also some progress for these areas because tourism is not something that just helps to the organizers or whatever. This includes to all the people who work along the way as well. And the good of this is that we work also with local people a lot. So I will say I will start with this. I don't know if you have any question.
No, thank you. That was a great intro. So a few things, and again, you can type any questions if you want into the chat. I just posted the message there, but a high level concept of just facts about trekking in Peru. We typically work on a season that is April through October. We love June. June is a kind of a magical time there with lots of great festivities and cultural festivities. We have lots of groups that tend to go in June. And that tends to be one of the number one questions that people have about it is like, when is the best time of year? Claudio, in your opinion, is there any difference from a trek in May versus a trek in October? Or because Peru's pretty close to the equator, does it feel like it's kind of the same most of the year?
Actually, as you just mentioned, June is considered the tough time for us for tourism, and this is for any kind of tourism because you might know that here in the Andes we only have two seasons, the dry season and the rainy season. So the dry season starts from April to October, November even, yeah, until the beginning of the December. So this is the best time to do any hike or any trek here. But why June became very special? Because of the anniversary of Cusco and because we are close to the winter solstice, which is a very important day even for local people. And as this is the anniversary, let's say that we have almost all the month as a carnival because a lot of people coming from everywhere, different communities, other provinces, come to participate in order to say, happy anniversary. And it's very colorful, a lot of music, happy people, tourists are very welcome, but everything is more crowded, including Machu Picchu. But comparing this with May, July, or August, June is tough, very tough. And yeah, October, November, September, it's a good time. I would consider this a very good time because you don't see so many people as you could see in June, no? But still, during this period that lasts the dry season is a perfect time to be here in Peru or in the Andes.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Carrie, do you want to share a little bit about what Cusco's like in June? Like your since you've spent a lot of time with Claudio there in June, just a little bit of the magic of Cusco.
Yeah, well, Cusco's a World Heritage Site. It's definitely got that kind of old world feel with the cobblestone streets and all of these massive buildings and structures. If you can even look behind these ladies, you see the Incan walls with the stonework that's put together in such finite accuracy that you can't even slip a piece of paper through through that seam. And so it's like an archaeological magic, but it's also just so culturally vibrant. There's, like Claudio said, there's just all kinds of parades and fairs and dancing going on any time of day. It's super celebratory and it's all month long. And even if you wake up at 6 a.m., there's like a school group practicing out in the central square what their parade act is going to be. It's great. Everybody's super involved and into it, and it's just got like kind of a real vibrant kind of fever to it in a great way. So that's Cusco in June, but Cusco any time of year is totally my jam, and it's most people's jam. I think Wendy, who's on here too, can attest to that. It's just a really quaint, comfortable, approachable city that we love, and that's why we base our treks out of there. It also is at 11,000 feet, so we use that as our acclimatization, and you'll notice in all of our itineraries that we've got 2 days built into the front end in Cusco, and that's specifically meant to get you some acclimatization before you go out on trek.
Yeah. Speaking of acclimatization, I know that Danny had a kind of like a question earlier about acclimatization. Claudio, maybe you can comment on that. I mean, typically how we design our itineraries, we're spend at least 2 days at Cusco, which is at 11,000 feet. Do you want to talk about acclimatization and the importance of it?
Actually, this is a very important thing to talk about. and I hope to make it most clear as it is possible for everyone. The acclimatization is very, very important because the altitudes that we get even during the treks are much higher than Cusco. And you might know that Cusco is located 11,000 feet above the sea level. And this is already very high compared for the people who come from the sea level. And this is not only for the ones that come from the US, from anywhere, even the people who come from Lima can feel it, you know. But, you know, there is always something to do to minimize at least, or just to don't feel anything. The most important thing that I used to recommend to anyone, even if you won't hike or if you will hike, is to hydrate yourselves. Hydration is very important because altitude sickness starts when you get dehydrated. So that means that you have to replace water. What happened also with some people that come from the US, most of them come already with the medication or recommendations by the doctors that you got there. So you come taking the Diamox, yeah? The Diamox, which is the, let's say, the sacred pill to avoid that. But the Diamox might have a contradiction because this is a diuretic pill. What means diuretic? That you go more often to the toilet, so you dehydrate a little faster. If you go more often, you need to drink more water. Also, this is a tip for people who like to go to the mountains. You should have, or you should put in your bottles of water some electrolytes in order to replace all the electrolytes that you were losing during the process, no? Also, here, there is a kind of myth talking about the coca tea or the coca leaves. The coca leaves really are not the solution to the problem when the people is starting to feel the altitude, because this is another diuretic too. So imagine to take this and also the Diamox. You might be dehydrating twice in a single moment. And that's why I never recommended to drink coca tea. In other hand, or in the other way, we got other kind of teas that you can have, like for example, the muña tea, the mint tea. Nowadays, some of the hotels that already learn how to manage this are putting in the receptions muña tea as a welcome drink, but most of the others are still putting coca tea. Coca tea is only a kind of analgesic, but doesn't fix it. Coca tea you can have at the end or maybe when you got already acclimatized, but only by the morning. What happens sometimes that people think that drinking coca tea all day long, it might help better, but no, even worse, because this is even stronger than a cup of coffee. And if you take that by the night or by the afternoon, you won't be able to sleep. And why do you need to acclimatize your body very well? Sleeping, sleeping. That's the best that you could do. As soon as you arrive here, maybe to eat something light, to try to sleep as much as you can. And trust me, after that, you're gonna feel much better. Yeah, so those are some little tips that I could take you. Probably I am breaking some myths about the coca tea because this is also something that people in Ecuador or in Bolivia recommend because of the highs. This
In
is
addition,
something about the altitude, you know?
in addition to that, I think Danny was talking about because she's coming from Florida, and you're not the only one, Danny. How might she be kind of impeded in acclimatizing? That's why we design our itineraries the way that we do, where we lead you kind of gently into the trek, and we take it slow to begin with. And that's also why we design our workout plans to include a lot of cardio so that you show up as fit as you can, and at a starting point that will put you in the best place to be able to acclimatize the easiest. So it's been our experience that if we just kind of take it slow, hydrate, and people do bring the diuretic Diamox, that most people are able to definitely acclimatize and thrive at once. And the other part of that is that once we get to the higher elevations, we stay there. We're not bringing you into Cusco and then going up to 16,000 feet and then going down to 9,000 feet. We're staying at a pretty high elevation the whole time so that your body is always constantly used to that, and it's not being put through lots of extreme highs and lows.
Thank you. So there's two different trails that we tend to focus on, that are not the Inca Trail, but they're versions of an Inca Trail. And this is the Ausangate trek and the high passes of Salcantay. As you can see here, both of the number of days, the number of miles, the difficulty of these. Claudio, can you share with us why these are special? Like what makes these more special than the 500 people that leave every day to start the Inca Trail?
Good. Well, you just mentioned something about the Inca Trail for everyone. The Inca Trail is only 28 miles. Yeah, the one that you do in 4 days. But this is the classic one because this is the one that is finishing directly in Machu Picchu. But this is not the one Inca Trail. In the Inca times, there were over 30,000 kilometers of Inca trails, which is already over 25,000 miles, right, more or less, that was connecting all the Inca Empire. And just to make it more clear, the Inca Empire were territories that one time were part of Ecuador, Colombia, Bolivia, Argentina, Chile, and obviously Peru. And Cusco was the capital of this empire. So all the Inca trails used to start from here. And it doesn't mean that all the Inca trails were made with paved stones, because the Inca Empire was also part of the coast, part of the Andes, part of the jungle, right? So in certain areas, some Inca trails were just something like a little path. And some of the trails, some of the routes that we are doing now were original Inca trails. For example, in the high passes of Sarcantay, it's possible to see remains of the Inca trails. There are other paths that were only used by llama or alpaca shepherds, so those were not very important. There was a main Inca trail called Capajñan, no, from the Inca times, but this Capajñan was like the spine of the Puma, like the spine of the Inca Empire, and other Inca trails were just leading to different areas to connect with other places. And we hike in some of those Inca trails. Also in the Ausangate area, we walk these paths that still are preserved by the local people. But what makes special these programs or these two hikes that we are promoting now is that basically we are the ones. So that Kari and myself took some time to explore in these areas in order to create a unique product, because you might know that there are other treks that are also popular like the Inca Trail, but those already became crowded of people. And what I have listened because of my experience, because of the comments, because of the recommendations from clients, is to go to places where probably you want to feel yourself alone or just to enjoy yourself in the moment, in the place, no? So that's why I consider these two routes very special, because let's say that you won't see anyone else after you and your mates in the group.
Great, thank you. I'd like to open up any questions anyone has so far. We've kind of been talking, and I know some of you joined to ask questions, and I see Wendy typed one into the chat. Are there any just questions that anyone would like to send out to us, or otherwise we'll just keep talking?
Don't be shy, guys.
So I have a question. I've done Ausangate and then Wave Wash, but how would you, like, if I'm going to start, which trek do I start with? Like, what makes them different?
I can address that. Thank you, Donovan. This is a good slide right here. So the key differences between these two hikes is that the Ausangate Circuit is 3 hours southeast of Cusco. It is not close to Machu Picchu. It is in a very small, gorgeous mountain range. That is very exclusive and not often traveled. It is a shorter trek, so it's less days camping. Both treks are fully supported camping treks. You're sleeping in hotels on either end of the trek, but you're camping when you're hiking. Juxtapose that with the high passes of Salcantay. That is located northwest outside of Cusco. It is closer to Cusco, and it is in the mountain. It is doing a circuit around the mountain that is above Machu Picchu, Salcantay Mountain. Thank you, Donovan. So It's in the Machu Picchu region, but it's in a part of that mountain that nobody travels. And so it's super, super private. Claudio and I went out and scouted it, and we're the only ones out there doing that trek. And you finish by physically walking into Machu Picchu through the Sun Gate. It is a more difficult trek because it is longer, and it is at a higher elevation.
Yeah, that looks pretty amazing with all those different passes.
I just checked that question. Sorry for interrupting. If we could meet any dangerous animals or whatever. No, in both treks you won't see. Actually, we will consider ourselves very lucky to see a puma, the one that you call the mountain lion or something like, right? But it's very difficult to see them because these animals like to hunt, especially during the night and in very isolated places, but during the night. What happens when they notice the presence of people? They just run away because you might understand that those animals are now considered endangered species. So we don't have the kind of bears that you have in North America. We only have one kind of bear, which is the spectacle bear. But these animals like to live in the cloud forest. But even these animals are not they are not carnivores. They like to eat plants, only veggies. So they are happy with bamboo. So they don't eat anyone. Okay, just to make it. But we do animals like, for example, foxes. We can see some vicuñas, which are considered wild animals, are very difficult to see. We can see some vizcachas or chinchillas, right? We can see some little marmots, many kinds of birds, but no, nothing dangerous really, nothing dangerous. We
And
are the dangerous ones.
the best part in terms of animals on the Ausangate track is that it is supported using llamas. So it's super fun to see them every morning as they're getting all of their gear put on them. They're super cute and docile. So no animals to be concerned with, only ones to fall in love with.
That's a good way to
Yeah.
say it. Claudio, this has become a really famous part of Peru here in the last few years, and we know lots of people come here for the day. Obviously, on one of our treks, this is part of your first or your second day on the trek. Can you talk a little bit about this region and what makes Rainbow Mountain so special?
For sure. Yes, well, the Rainbow Mountain that you see now in the photo is called Vinicunca. And Vinicunca became like the gem of this southern area of Cusco. Everyone want to go there because, you know, the media motivates the people to get like this. And to get in there are different ways. Now became very commercial. And most of the people like to go there by the morning. Actually, they have to leave from Cusco around 3 or 4 by the morning, very, very early, and drive the same way that we also have to drive to get nearby. The point is that they get there and then they have to get back before noon or afternoon for the lunch because they're going to have the lunch in the way back. But it's in the afternoon when this place became or becomes isolated so that we designed the program in base to this in order to have a unique experience. In the Ausangate program, the first day, we drive out from Cusco to the campsite where we're going to sleep the first night. And this is the time that we get for lunch. And this is the time that all of these crowds are just moving out. After the lunch, we get something like an hour to rest. And then we hike up to the Rainbow Mountain for approximately an hour, hiking up, and in order to wait the sunset. Actually, I saw many sunsets, many sunrises in many places. And the time that I made this, I felt something unique. Well, it became very special. That's why I am starting to recommend to do the Rainbow Mountain by the afternoon. But to do that, you have to sleep nearby, and that's what we get. So that's what makes special our program too. And you don't find anyone there, so nobody gonna be in your picture. Nobody by the afternoon with the sunset. And the second day, we go also again, and you can see the crowds, but we just go by because the idea on the second day is to see the Red Valley. Can you see in the back side of the Rainbow Mountain on the right hand side? That's part of the Red Valley. It's a beautiful valley which is rich in clay that makes the different color nature, you know, but it's all natural stuff. And then we continue with our hike to the next spot, to the next campsite.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I know many people want to obviously see it, and I agree with you. I think it's fun to be there when nobody else is there, and I think it's pretty special that we can have this as part of our track. We did get a question here from Bronson. We said, what is your minimum and maximum size for each trek? It's a little bit depends upon different scenarios, time of year, but in general, we're hoping for a minimum of 4 people on a trek. Maximum, if it's a private trip and it's your group of friends, it's up to you. If we are putting the people into the group, generally on average, our group sizes fall in the 7 to 9 is on average. But again, it just depends. Most people bring their own groups on this trip. So I think 4 generally feels about right. Is that correct, Carrie?
It's like 4 to 10. Yep.
The 10, yeah. Yeah, and in fact, we do have this trek this coming October that we're starting to look for a few more people for. I think it's October 3rd to 13th. And again, I didn't show the beginning of this trek right here, but this is what the passes kind of look like and the different elevation pieces as part of the trek here. So starting at 14,000 feet. Carrie, is there anything you want to add else about the Ausangate trek that you like?
I think Claudio touched on all of it. It's really unique that we get to see the Red Valley that he was talking about. That's just striking with this really rich cinder rock juxtaposed against really wonderful green grasses. And then you come around and you have exclusive Rainbow Mountain for you and your group early in the morning. And then it just keeps getting better from there. Like the passes and the mountains, you just get deeper and deeper into them. And Claudio, like he was saying at the beginning, has a real in with the local indigenous communities. And so you get some really genuine, authentic interactions with the people who are living out there. There are villages and settlements that are out there, extremely remote. And people come away from that trek like really blown away by the interactions that they've been able to have because Claudio can speak Quechua and he puts us in touch with the local community and culture in a really genuine, authentic way.
Speaking of the local community, I'll let Claudio jump in right here and introduce this famous man.
Basilio.
Editor Horseman Basilio. Maybe one more thing to add in this. Remember that at the end of this, we get a nice natural prize, let's say, the hot springs.
Yeah. It
The
ends
hot
at Hot
springs,
Springs. That's
yeah, it
beautiful.
finishes there. And when we get there, also we are the only ones in the hot springs because usually the people, even some local people, like to jump by the afternoon. But we like to jump there as soon as we finish the hike by the morning for an hour, let's say, which I consider enough. And then we just drive in the way to Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
So it's a nice way to finish it. You finish a little bit more relaxed.
That's true. So for some of you who've been on our other trips, you've been on maybe the Kilimanjaro trip or the Everest base camp trip. A little bit different here. We do use horsemen like Basilio here, who's from the area, and you're basically your North Face bag right there is carried on horses. We also bring an extra horse if you can't make it up and over the passes. We can help get you up some of those as well. So this is a little bit of what camp life might kind of look like here. You see in the background back there, there's some bathrooms in the back that we've brought. We have our Mountain Hardware big tent right there that we eat inside of. We have our tents over on the right. Wake up in the morning, serve your drinks. I'll let you jump into the food, either Carrie or Claudio, because it's pretty elaborate there.
Yeah, so This is Toribio. He's our camp cook. He's a very good friend of Claudio's. They've been hiking and doing trips like this together for many, many years. And Toribio is super, super passionate. This is not just some side job for him. This is his profession. And he prides himself on offering you guys the best that he can be and do for every trip that he runs. He's constantly coming up with new things. Sometimes he brings out a charcoal cooktop, and you can do your own teriyaki skewers in our beautiful mess tent. All kinds of dietary preferences and restrictions. He works with all of it: gluten-free, vegetarian, vegan. We can accommodate anything. It feels very personal. And people come on these trips maybe wanting to lose a few pounds, and then they're disappointed because Toribio totally dials it in with the food. Claudio, do you want to say anything else about Toribio or the food or anything?
Actually, I will say that, yeah, this is what happened when the people gets to the first lunch. They say, "Oh my God, is this for us?" That's the first question that comes to them. And obviously, yes, it is for us because we are trying to do something different. We know that you are coming so far, maybe expecting something more basic, but you don't deserve that. You deserve something like this, something unique. And yeah, that's why I mentioned that I like to work with local people. Most of the people who work in this are Quechua speakers too. And sometimes we use this as a moment to share with the locals, to have, again, a cultural immersion with them, because everyone come from different areas. And then is when we can learn also a little bit more, but from the first mouth, let's say, no? So we don't have to force anything. And I like that. I like to do that with them. Our gear, our equipment is very nice as well. So we never got issues with it. And yeah, we will be happy. And one more thing before I forget. You might know that I am a photographer too. So feel free to ask for a photo or anytime, because I'll be happy to do that. That's my hobby. So I do that for fun. By the way, some of these photos that you are looking now in the slides are mine, right? Copyright. Not joking. Huh? No, are my photos. So that's what motivates me also to do this work, and I am very happy to do this.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any other questions here tonight? We can obviously just keep talking, but looking for any feedback or any other questions that anyone may have. I see Anthony wrote, love the fact about the chef. I have food allergies. Also like the horse idea. Not sure if my wife might be in shape. Can I arrange a horse the whole way? Well, we do bring a horse the whole way, and we have had people use a horse for much of the trip. And in fact, we recently had someone do that. So yeah, it's definitely possible. However, this is a hiking trip and we are a hiking company and we're trying to create a hiking adventure, but we could talk about that separately, but the horse would definitely be with us the entire trip, just to make sure we could have support. And sometimes we bring even more than one horse.
Actually, may I add something else about this? As you are talking about the emergency horses,
Sure.
we use one horse that always along the way is carrying the bottle of oxygen and also the extra water. So we bring some bottles of water to refill your canteens along the way. So you should not be worried about that when you're hiking. That's also another thing that we do in order to make it more comfortable for you. You just need water for, let's say, 2 or 3 hours. As soon as you run out, you just have to let us know and we're going to refill it again. Also, in case you are breathing a little bit hard or maybe something is happening with you, we will get a bottle of oxygen. But the most important thing, we bring a big pack. We consider this our first aid kit. And something about myself, I take courses with NOLS. Actually, in one more week, I'm going to start again the updating course with them because I'm going to get a new certification. And they teach us what to do, how to use, or whatever happens. So I am an expert and I specialize in whatever could happen in the wilderness too. So I am certified by them as well. Yeah, that's very important. So we are not doing this just for doing. We are experts, we are specialized, and for sure, we are not selling only an experience. We are selling safety. That's the most important thing for everyone.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love this picture right here. This is your daughter, right, Claudio?
No,
No.
it's not.
Okay. Let's jump over to Machu Picchu.
That's Machu Picchu. Crazy people there.
So many of these.
Nice people.
You know, there's a lot to Machu Picchu that I don't think people realize. It sometimes you see these different images, you don't realize all of the other things that people do. Claudio, do you want to maybe touch base about maybe Machu Picchu Mountain or Huayna Picchu there in the background?
Thank you for mentioning. You might know that Machu Picchu became a new seven wonder many years ago, right? And the Peruvian government was promoting our main destination. So nowadays, this is the main destiny even in South America. So that Machu Picchu got already the limit of people. In the high season, we receive approximately 5,600 people per day. That's the reason why the government split it in different schedules, the visit to Machu Picchu. So you cannot stay anymore as it was before with one single ticket, stay all day long. It was before when I was much younger, really, 20 years ago, more or less. Nowadays, you get a limit, yeah? But as you gonna go with the expert guide, I know what to do in order to stay as longer as we can. And that's the reason also why we recommend to people to book it in advance, because as this became the main destination, many people want to come and tickets are starting to run to get sold out. We are still in the good time, the perfect time now to book it. But I mean, if you come, for example, in May or April and you want to visit it in June, probably you won't get any ticket because it's going to be already sold out. So you have to plan the trip a few months before you come in Machu Picchu. Between Huayna Picchu and Machu Picchu Mountain, also you need a special ticket, especially for the Huayna Picchu Mountain, which is the first thing that gets sold out. The Huayna Picchu Mountain, which is there you see in the photo, the background, the mountain, that's the Huayna Picchu Mountain. So you get the option to climb to the very top of that mountain. And you can do that in 2 hours. 2 hours, 1 hour to get up and 1 hour to get down. If you are afraid of heights, obviously that's not for you because you gonna hike by some trails that are above the cliff. But it's not dangerous, never happen anything. Just maybe for people who want to challenge a little bit more their physical stuff, and you're gonna get a great view from there above the city. Yeah. The Machu Picchu mountain is much longer, so it takes more or less 4 hours round trip. A lot of steps. You cannot see it now, but that's because in the postcard picture, the one that you're having now, the Huayna Picchu mountain became more popular and everyone wants to climb there. And we fixed the program as well to do the tour in the Inca city of Machu Picchu, and then to continue with the climb of the Huayna Picchu mountain, and then to leave. That's enough. You're gonna be more than happy with all of this.
Good, thank you, Claudio. I'm just gonna mention a few. Go ahead, Carrie.
Something I just want to add to follow up on the Machu Picchu piece is most people, when they do both of these hikes with us, come back and say that they went for Machu Picchu, but by the end of their trek, Machu Picchu ended up just being a side note to the amazing adventure they had had. So just to give testament to how amazing it is to be in those mountains with Claudio.
Right. Yeah, I agree. So a few other points here that we've kind of mentioned tonight, but these are all non-technical, high elevation trekking. As we mentioned, acclimatization is imperative. The big thing about this that we haven't mentioned, and I don't think we can jump too much into today, is training. These are hard treks, 30 to 40 miles, sleeping outside, high elevations. You definitely need to train for these things. This is not something where a few weeks prior you can go out and buy some boots and start doing walks through your neighborhood. This is real hiking, but this is a lot of fun. So most people plan usually 6 to 9 months in advance, start talking about it, work with our training plans, work with us, and get ready for doing it. I always use the analogy that you can probably go out and hike 7, 8, or 9 miles, but can you do it 5, 6, 7 days in a row? It's hard, and it's harder at elevation. So take that in mind. But again, this is all a challenge. It's fun. The magic is in the process. Just wanted to open it up again for any other questions people might have tonight. Anything anyone would like to mention or want to know? Lots of quiet people out there this evening.
Is it a requirement to do weird things like that in the photos if you go on a trek?
No, Claudio and Yuri just make our family do that when we go on hikes with them.
But this is
I don't know. I've seen some other videos.
I
That might
know.
be different.
Yeah, we should do the
Like
video
a
of Claudio
collection from
doing.
all the treks. Yeah.
Well, that's the one thing that I'd like to say to everyone listening tonight. I mean, Claudio obviously is our guide, but he's a good friend of ours, and Claudio knows he knows how to keep a group happy and how to make it interesting. Sometimes hiking for days and days and passes and passes. You're gonna have to mix it up and have a lot of fun. So I've known lots of guides all over the world. I employ lots of guides all over the world, and Claudio's my number one. So that means a lot. So again, there he is having fun. I think Claudio set us up specifically with this exact picture pretty close. So. Anyway, any other final messages? We will send this video out. We're going to send out a couple other of our new YouTube videos that profile these treks. And so you can kind of see what those look like. Carrie and Claudio have put together a number of great recordings showing the mountains, the passes, the llamas, the horses, the culture, all of it that exists up there. So we'll send that out to everyone to take a look at. But yeah, reach out. Even if you're thinking in 2026, 2027, let us know, because as everyone knows, these years go by really, really fast. And right now we're already mostly planning for the end of this year and into next year. So please reach out with any questions. Um, Anything else, Carrie, you can think of?
No, I think that covers it. Yeah. Just like you said,
So,
it's booking up.
so I would like to say some nice words. First of all, thank you very much for allowing me to be in this meeting. It was very fun and nice to be here to explain this from the first hand to the people who are planning maybe to come here. And finally, to all the travelers who are in the meeting, please, if you decide to come to anywhere here, I mean to the high passes or to the Ausangate or to any trip with Embark, let me tell you that you won't have only a life experience trip. You're gonna become a better person too. So please, whenever, you'll be welcome, very welcome here in Peru.
It's very nice of you.
Thanks, Claudio.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
everybody.
We
Thanks for
educated
being
you.
curious. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. So he just sent his email, so that's great.
That guy was moving that camera the whole entire time. I didn't know what he was doing.
I think it was on his phone.
Um, so one good note, thank you, Claudio. It was perfect. It was
Yeah, it was great.
perfect. Um, did you turn the recording off?
Um,
My pleasure, guys.